Every legend starts with silence. Before the lights, before the trophies, there's just the echo of a basketball in an empty gym. No crowd, no noise, just belief. And from that silence, two snipers were born. They weren't just shooters, they were snipers. Two men trained for the same target, precision. Stephen Curry, the silent revolutionary with a smile that disguised his deadliest weapon. Klay Thompson, the calm executioner who never celebrated until the mission was complete. Together, they formed the most lethal backcourt the game had ever seen. Two sharpshooters moving in rhythm, one with fire, the other with ice. Steph attacked chaos. He moved like a storm, unpredictable, erratic, dangerous. A man who could pull up from 30 feet and shatter your confidence with a flick of his wrist. Klay was discipline incarnate, emotionless, surgical, pure. He didn't dance, he dissected. If Steph's shots felt like explosions, Klay's felt like assassinations. Quick, clean, no hesitation. Every day was a duel in disguise. Steph would drain 100 in a row, Klay would match him, then walk away like nothing happened. Neither spoke much. They didn't need to. The sound of the net was their only language. Every splash was a headshot. Every miss, a wound that demanded revenge. And as the world watched them turn warm-ups into blood sport, one truth emerged. They weren't fighting each other, they were sharpening each other. Fire feeding ice, ice cooling fire. Two snipers on the same mission, to perfect the art of the jump shot. Not for fame, not for validation, but because each one refused to let the other be better. And from that silent rivalry came a revolution. Before the noise, before the fame, before the trophies, there were two boys in empty gyms. One in Charlotte, the other in Los Angeles. Two different coasts, one shared dream, to master the sound of a basketball falling clean through the net. Stephen Curry was born into rhythm. His father, Dell, spent 16 seasons in the NBA. His mother, Sonia, a college volleyball star. Steph wasn't handed the game. He inherited the discipline behind it. Late nights rebounding for his dad. Long hours fixing his shot because no coach believed it would work. Too small, too skinny, too weak. Every critique became fuel. He learned early that confidence isn't given. It's built one rep at a time. Across the map, Klay Thompson was learning the same lesson. His father, Michael, was a two-time champion with the Lakers. His mother, Julie, an athlete herself. Klay was quiet, stoic even as a kid. No celebration, no talk. He didn't play for attention, he played for precision. His release wasn't flashy, but it was lethal. And like Steph, he was overlooked. A good player from Washington State, not the next great anything. Two sons of NBA champions. Two dreamers without guarantees. Destined to collide. They didn't know it yet, but the universe was setting a trap. A perfect storm of timing, struggle, and doubt that would force them to find each other. Two young men who'd grown into the most dangerous partnership basketball had ever seen. Different routes, same destination. And when their paths finally crossed in Golden State, basketball, as the world knew it, would never sound the same again. Every great partnership walks the edge of chance. One wrong move, one bad decision, and the story never happens. For Steph and Klay, that line was razor thin. 3 times, fate tried to separate them before they ever became legends. 2011, Golden State nearly trades for Chris Paul. The offers on the table, young Curry and Klay for a proven star. Paul refuses to commit long-term, and just like that, the trigger never pulls. 2012, Steph's ankles betray him. The Warriors prepare a deal to send him to Milwaukee. Everything's agreed, until the Bucks' medical staff sees the scans and walks away. They call him damaged goods. They had no idea they just passed on the man who would redefine the sport. 2014, another shot at the dynasty's heart. Golden State pursues Kevin Love, ready to trade Klay Thompson to seal it. It takes Jerry West, the logo himself, threatening to leave the franchise to stop it. And once again, the universe intervenes. 3 trades, 3 escapes. It's almost poetic, like destiny wasn't ready to let go of this story. because something about these two was meant to exist together. They weren't brothers by blood, but by rhythm, by the sound of two shooters whose games harmonized like music. And soon, the world would hear their symphony for the first time. It started as a tweet, a simple phrase written in the middle of an ordinary night. The Splash Brothers. The nickname wasn't given, it was heard, echoing from every swish, every deep three, every impossible shot that kissed the net and whispered their legend into existence. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, the Splash Brothers. Two snipers who turned sound into history. The nickname was everywhere now. Highlights, headlines, hashtags. The world had finally caught on. But inside the gym, there was no celebration, no cheers, no spotlight. Just two men sharpening their craft and each other. Steph Curry and Klay Thompson didn't compete with the league. They competed with the echo of each other's jump shots. Every rep was a message, every swish a counterpunch. They were brothers, but they trained like rivals. Curry's rhythm was jazz, unpredictable, full of improvisation and motion. He'd float into step-backs, twist his body mid-air, and defy logic with a grin. Klay's rhythm was classical, deliberate, structured, machine-like in its timing. No excess, no hesitation, just precision, repetition, and quiet control. Their styles clashed, but that friction became fuel. Steph's creativity forced Klay to stretch his limits. Klay's discipline forced Steph to tighten his game. Every day, one pushed the other closer to perfection. It wasn't about being better, it was about refusing to fall behind. And that's how greatness is forged, not in peace, but in resistance. Iron shapes iron, and every time their shots echoed through that empty gym, you could hear the sound of history being built, one swish at a time. Mark Jackson saw what the world didn't. He watched the way they moved, the way they obsessed over the smallest detail, the balance of a foot, the arc of a release, the rhythm of a bounce. One day he looked at his team and said it plain, "We've got the greatest shooting backcourt in the history of basketball." People laughed. The league wasn't ready to believe in shooters. But when Steve Kerr arrived, he didn't try to control them. He let them breathe. He opened the floor, sped up the tempo, gave them permission to be dangerous. Suddenly, the passes were faster, the spacing wider, the shots deeper. And those two, fire and ice, painted chaos into order. It was more than chemistry now. It was trust. Because every time one missed, the other was there to finish the job. Every time one caught fire, the other fed the flame. What started as competition had become connection. And as they entered their primes, the rest of the league was about to feel what it meant when iron sharpens iron. Every fighter has a moment when the lights hit different, when all the blood, sweat, and repetition turn into something unstoppable. For the Splash Brothers, that moment came in 2015. Steve Kerr's new system was movement and madness. Everyone touched the ball, everyone cut, everyone shot. But it was Steph and Klay who gave it rhythm, the pulse of a dynasty hiding inside the sound of two jump shots. Steph danced with defenders like he was in on a joke only he could hear. He'd pull from 30, 40 feet, shots that belonged on playgrounds, not finals courts. Klay countered with silence, no celebration, no expression, just the cleanest release the league had ever seen. Together, they became basketball's version of controlled chaos. Fire and precision, speed and patience, beauty and blood. The Warriors didn't just win, they rewrote the sport's DNA. They shot more threes than any team in history and hit them at a rate nobody thought possible. Curry won his first MVP. Klay dropped 37 points in a single quarter, an NBA record that still stands. That wasn't basketball anymore. It was artillery. The 2015 championship was the coronation. The 73-9 season was the explosion. Night after night, they blurred the limits of logic. Steph broke his own record, ending with 402 threes. Klay added 276. They weren't chasing stats, they were chasing each other. That's how you build a dynasty. You don't compete against the world, you compete against the mirror beside you. The higher they rose, the heavier the crown became. Opponents called them lucky. Analysts said it wouldn't last. Through all the noise, Steph and Klay just kept shooting, kept trusting, kept sharpening. They didn't need to speak, they just felt where the other would be. Every no-look pass, every transition three, every dagger, a coded message between two minds chasing the same dream. The Splash Brothers weren't the league's future anymore, they were basketball's present. And every shot they made was a message to history itself. Every dynasty eventually meets its breaking point. Not because the talent fades, but because the body starts keeping score. The Warriors entered the 2019 finals like champions, walking into their last round. 5 straight trips to the finals, 5 years of carrying the weight of history. Steph's ankles were screaming, Klay's legs were bruised, Durant's body was one pull away from breaking. And still they fought. Then came Game 5. KD, returning after a month off, stepped into a jump shot, and the arena fell silent. A pop, a gasp, a torn Achilles, a legend down. Game 6, Oracle Arena. Klay Thompson was locked in, 28 points and counting. Then a drive, a foul, a fall. He clutched his knee, a torn ACL, another silence. And yet, he got up, walked to the line, sank both free throws on one leg. Then waved to the crowd as if to say, "Don't mourn me yet." The Warriors lost the series, but what really ended that night was an era. 5 years, 3 titles, 2 MVPs, 1,000 memories. The most beautiful brand of basketball ever played, cut short by the same game that made it possible. Steph stood on the sideline, towel over his head, watching the clock run out. This wasn't defeat. It was reality. The empire had fallen, but its sound would never fade. After every fall, there's silence. For the first time in years, Golden State wasn't feared. They were forgotten. The banners still hung, the trophies still glowed, but the noise was gone. KD was gone. Klay was broken. Steph was alone. 2020 felt like exile. Steph broke his hand. Klay spent nights in the training room, fighting his own body one muscle at a time. Underwater runs, balance drills, endless film sessions. He watched his team lose from a couch, jaw clenched, eyes empty. The competitor inside him refused to die. Then, when hope returned, fate struck again, a torn Achilles in a pickup game. 2 years, 2 surgeries, 2 wars with himself. Steph called it a gut punch, because even when they weren't together, their pain was shared. But Warriors don't stay down forever. Steph turned isolation into ignition. 32 points per game, 337 threes, another scoring title. He carried the dynasty's weight until his brother could come home. January 9th, 2022, 941 days later. Klay Thompson stepped onto the floor again. The arena roared. Steph smiled like a man watching faith return to form. First dribble, first pull-up. Splash. That sound, that clean, perfect sound was resurrection. Boston, 2022 Finals. The Celtics punched first, taking a 2-1 lead. The critics whispered, "It's over." Then came Game 4. Steph Curry walked into TD Garden like a man possessed. 43 points, 10 rebounds. Every 3 a dagger through doubt. Beside him, Klay rediscovered his rhythm. 5 threes in Game 5, calm, poised, surgical. Game 6 sealed it. Confetti, tears, redemption. Steph on his knees, Klay smiling through exhaustion. After everything, the surgeries, the doubt, the silence, they were champions again. They weren't chasing history this time, they were honoring it. 2 brothers, 2 survivors, 1 last masterpiece. Every story, no matter how golden, has a final chapter. Theirs was written in silence, not with fireworks, but with understanding. The 2023 and 2024 seasons were hard to watch. Klay's body still remembered the wars. The rhythm that once came so easy started slipping away. Missed shots, stiff legs. The world that once chased them now circled them. Steph never stopped believing. Even as the criticism grew, he kept finding Klay in the corner, trusting the man who helped him change basketball. But time is undefeated. The league had evolved, faster, younger, louder. And for the first time, it wasn't enough. When the season ended, the whispers became reality. The Warriors wanted a reset. Klay wanted respect. Two paths that had always run parallel finally began to drift apart. He didn't announce it with drama or tears. He just packed his bag one last time. 13 seasons, 4 championships, and an unspoken bond that would outlast any contract. Then came the post, a single photo. Two brothers side by side, drenched in champagne and confetti. "Going to miss you, Klay Thompson," Steph wrote. "Even though we won't finish the journey together, what we did will never be done again. You changed the Bay. You changed the game. Splash Brothers for life." Klay's name lives in the echoes of Chase Center, in every kid who shoots without hesitation, in every gym where the first sound you hear is the net snapping clean. The Splash Brothers weren't built on stats or trophies. They were built on trust, on rivalry turned respect, on fire meeting ice. They didn't just win together, they changed the geometry of the sport. They drenched the floor, bent defenses, and redefined what was possible. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, the Splash Brothers.